I'm Dr Raghib Ali, clinical epidemiologist at the MRC Epidemiology Unit at the University of Cambridge. So I work at the MRC Epidemiology Unit as a clinical epidemiologist. My main research interest is in risk factors for diabetes and heart disease. I also work in the UAE and the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi, where I lead a study called the UAE Healthy Future Study, which again is primarily looking at risk factors for diabetes and heart disease. My other roles are I'm a consultant in acute medicine at the John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford, and that's where I was working during the pandemic. And I'm also recently started as the Chief Medical Officer for Our Future Health. My father moved to the UK from Hyderabad in India in 1963. He came to Liverpool as a student. My mum joined him 5 years later in 1968, and I was born in 1975. So growing up, our South Asian origin, our Indian origin was very important. We used to visit India from time to time, every few years, to visit grandparents. And then a lot of the family moved to America actually, and then after that it was mainly going to America. But certainly it's had a major impact on many aspects of my life in terms of the culture, particularly close connections with both family in the UK and in India and America, as well as smaller things like diet. But yeah, it does have an important part of my life, certainly. So South Asians are the largest ethnic minority in the UK, and over the last decades really, they've made a very significant contribution to the UK, particularly with the NHS. Many of the doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals in the NHS are of South Asian origin, and it's very difficult to see how the NHS would really manage without those doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals. For me personally, of course, I'm an NHS doctor, and that's been an important part of my career. But also in terms of education, as South Asians in general, our parents have always been very keen to stress the importance of education. And for me personally, growing up in relatively difficult circumstances financially, I always knew that education was the way to achieve and to be successful. And that really helped me as a child growing up to get where I am today. So growing up, as I said, there were certain parts of growing up, whether it was related to our culture or the food that we ate or the way that we dressed, and the language that was spoken in the household, of course, was reflected our being of Indian origin. But I never felt any less British because of that. And I think what's really unique in some ways to the UK is that you can be fully British without having to sacrifice, our ethnic origins and other aspects of our identity. And that's appreciated now across the country, particularly in relation to food, but many other aspects as well. As I said, the family values, community values, etc., that are strong in the South Asian community. I think people appreciate that and the contributions that we're making across all aspects, education, health, business, etc. So I've never felt there's a conflict there. I feel fully British, but I'm comfortable with my Indian origin and ethnicity as well. So growing up, I never really felt that my South Asian background or ethnicity was any barrier. It's certainly true that because of financial difficulties, being on free school meals, that did make life harder. And the school that I went to at primary school was very poorly performing, but I was lucky enough to get a scholarship from the government to go to a better school. And that really opened up many opportunities, to go to university, to become a doctor. And not everyone has those opportunities today, but schools are much better today. And for young people today, there are opportunities. If you're willing to work hard, your ethnicity, your background shouldn't be a barrier. You've got the same opportunities as anyone else. If you've got financial difficulties, again, there is help available, which you should make use of. But it's really, I would encourage everyone to aspire, and to have that kind of desire to, young people have big dreams and big ambitions, but it's really having role models to see that it is possible. And I hope that what I've been able to do, despite the difficulties, shows that you can really achieve whatever you set out to do.